consists of artworks, letters and photographs that showcase the participation of former President Thabo Mbeki and his wife Zanele in the liberation of South Africa, African Renaissance, peace and prosperity in the entire continent. That's the UNISA Gallery's the month-long exhibition to honor the life and times of Thabo Mbeki. It runs until the 12th of June and is recognized as part of the 10-year celebrations of the Thabo Mbeki Annual Africa Day lecture series. Well, to tell us more, we are joined by Curator at the UNISA Art Gallery and Collection, Bongani Mkhonza. It's great to have you on Morning Live. Thank you so much for making the time this morning.
Thank you.
Let's talk about just the background into how doing this exhibition and honoring the legendary Thabo Mbeki while he's still alive came about.
Yeah, this is the exhibition about the basically the dialogues and conversations that President Thabo Mbeki and Zanele Mbeki have been embarking on over the past, few years, you name it. But the exhibition basically is not necessarily about the man himself, but it's about the community, the conversation, the participation around the work that they have been doing.
And why was it so important to highlight those conversations?
Well, firstly, it is May, which is the Africa Month. We would like to look upon ourselves. One of the main things that President Thabo Mbeki said is Africa has been defined by the other. We have always been told who we are. We've always obviously responded to what we those definitions and those frameworks of who we are. But now, one of the things that he really emphasizes is it is our time now to look at who we are and start defining ourselves. So this May, which is Africa Month, it is time for us to look at ourselves and say, who are we, in the bigger scheme of things? So this is the exhibition that shows that. It opens up different dialogues and conversations about who we are and actually how we participate to the dialogue around the world, the conversation that is happening around the world as Africans.
And so what does the exhibition consist of? And just talk us through the process of acquiring the materials.
Yes, there was a memorandum of agreement that was signed between the Mbekis, the Thabo Mbeki Foundation and UNISA. So that whole agreement came about around 2009. So the Mbekis then did a deed of donation to UNISA, which was signed about 2 years ago, where they are donating all their materials, like a lot of materials, to UNISA. We're talking about papers, scholarly papers, which is very important, against the backdrop that we're seeing a lot of in Africa, specifically, papers by presidents like Nkrumah being hosted in Europe, being transported out of Africa. So it was important for this agreement to come about so that we secure these papers. But it's not only papers, scholarly papers. We're talking artworks, we're talking T-shirts, we're talking bags, we're talking a whole lot of things that are exciting. Letters, personal letters between Mbeki and Thabo Mbeki, but also letters to the ANC and the PAC, letters that were written, some of them by O.R. Tambo, and were kept under their archives.
Sure. And why, in your personal opinion, is it important that Thabo Mbeki and his wife Zanele's contribution to our democracy is highlighted? And I mean, his contribution to not just South Africa, but the entire African Renaissance. He's always preached about peace and prosperity for our continent. Yeah,
it's very important for us to, as I said before, to redefine who we are. It is very important for us to show from within ourselves what we have done to this modernity. Because, the argument, the politics is always about Africa not being part of modernity, not being part of the progress, not being part of what is happening in the world. So these works, for me, in terms of scholarly and the politics of scholariness, it brings to a fore, those politics of saying we need to look within ourselves. I can't emphasize that more better. We know other projects that have happened in Africa before. The Mali project, for instance, the Timbuktu project, where the papers and a whole lot of scholarly works were taken out of Africa. Now they are hosted in France, they are hosted in Britain. So we need to secure scholarly work that are going to deal with issues of leadership, scholarly work that are going to deal with presidency, because this is going to culminate to a presidential library. That is, it's going to be called Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library. It is already initiated. It is hosted at UNISA at present, but they're going to build a new, almost like a museum library that's going to deal with scholarship of presidents and leadership from an African context by a leader in African Renaissance or African discourse.
Sure, Bongani, I would have loved to engage you more on this subject, but unfortunately we are out of time. Thank you so much for curating this amazing project, and yeah, all the best with all your endeavors.
Thank you. Thank
you very much. It's curator at the UNISA Art Gallery and Collection, Bongani Mkhonza, speaking to us about the month-long exhibition to honor former President Thabo Mbeki.